Alright chaps, it's that time of the week. We are into game week 7 and we are back for some championship score predictions ahead of the weekend. As always, I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below. How do you see all of these matches unfolding? Last week was a bit of a mixed bag for me. I think I got 3 results correct, 1 scoreline bob on. So we're looking for an improvement this week. Without any further ado, let's jump in. Starting out at the Hawthorns on Friday night for West Brom up against Leicester. And this feels like a bit of a tight match, to be honest with you. West Brom coming off the back of back-to-back losses. I don't feel like they've been awful in their last 2 games. They absolutely dominated that last home game against Derby, ended up losing it late on to an Andy Weimann winner, and then away at Boro was never going to be easy, but they had some decent chances in that game, just didn't take them when they came along. Has been a bit of a story of West Brom's season so far, being a little bit wasteful maybe in the final third, and Leicester won't make it easy for them, although they've been a little bit hit and miss in their 3 away performances. I've thought so far this season they've had away games at Charlton, Preston and Oxford. All 3 have been not totally cohesive performances, I wouldn't describe them as, but they continue to tick along the points. They've been the best performing of the relegated Premier League clubs this season, and I think they do get something from this game. West Brom don't tend to give away that much at the Hawthorns. I do feel like Leicester have a bit more firepower and creativity in the final third, but for an opening score prediction, I'm going to go for a draw between those two. 1-1 I'm fancying there at the Hawthorns. Next up, into the first of the Saturday early kickoffs, it's Coventry up against Birmingham. An interesting matchup here. A stat I'd like to throw at you is Coventry have taken more shots than any other championship club after these first 6 matches, but equally Birmingham have faced the fewest shots after the first 6 matches. So an interesting matchup here. We've got Coventry coming off the back of 3 consecutive draws. They had that brilliant win against QPR when they put 7 goals past them, but they haven't won since then. It was another draw for them last time out against Leicester. Going up against the Birmingham side, who have been a little bit up and down recently. Blues suffered back-to-back losses on the road before they got back to winning ways at St Andrews last weekend. A late winner from Lyndon Dykes against Swansea. Still get the impression from Birmingham that they're yet to fully click into gear in the final third. I do think we will reach a stage of the season when that squad's familiar with everyone there. A striker or 2 will find some form, and I think they'll consistently start scoring 2 goals per game, but we're not there yet with Birmingham. And away from home, I've been a little bit underwhelmed with some of their performances so far. They obviously lost away at Stoke, lost away at Leicester. I thought they got pretty fortunate to win that one late on away at Blackburn as well. Coventry, for as good as they can be going forward, they can also be wasteful at times as well. We saw that against Hull on the season opener, and obviously they fired a blank last time out against Leicester. Oh, a draw here would not surprise me, but just for the fact that this game's taking place at Coventry, I think I would give them the slight edge in this game. Score prediction, I'm going to go 2-1 Coventry. Tricky one to call though. Wouldn't be surprised if that ends level. Next up to Swansea up against Millwall. A tough game to call. There's not been a great deal between these sides so far this season. Millwall in 10th place. Swansea 1 position lower in 11th. Swansea looking to bounce back from that defeat last time out away at Birmingham. Got pretty unfortunate in that game to lose it late on. Had a goal ruled out themselves. A dubious offside that Vipotnik had stuck in the back of the net. Back at home for this one, but by no means an easy game. You can tell that Millwall aren't quite at 100% right now because of the players they've got out injured, but a good win for them on Monday night against Watford. Wasn't a vintage performance, but it was one quality goal that ended up swinging that one in their favour. And you've got to say, away from home, you've always got to give Millwall a chance. Their away record was very strong in the second half of last season. It's been strong so far this season as well. 2 wins and a draw on the road for Alex Neil's men. It also has to be said that Millwall have had the beating of Swansea in recent years. The last 3 head-to-head fixtures between these 2 clubs, they've all ended 1-0 to Millwall. Do I go with recent history? It does feel like a bit of a low-scoring game, this one. It has to be said. Thing is, with Swansea, I do fancy them for a goal, though, especially with Vipotnik in the form he's been in. I'm going to sit on the fence there. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw between those 2. Don't feel like there'll be a great deal in that one. Next up, we go to the racecourse for Wrexham up against Derby. A big win for Wrexham last time out. It was a brilliant second-half performance away at Norwich, flipping flipping that game on its head and winning it 3-2. Josh Windass with a well-taken brace in that one. Going up against Derby side, who have been a bit of a tricky one to call so far this season. Thought they were really disappointing last weekend against Preston. I obviously watched the full 90 of that one and couldn't believe just how passive Derby were for the first 45 or so minutes of that game. Second half was a bit of an improvement, certainly when Patrick Agyemang came on. I think he'll be a real handful for Championship defenders this season, but Derby still not the finished article, and feels like maybe Eustace is still working out what his best 11 is. Obviously, they've got players returning from injury. It's not been an ideal start to the season from that aspect. So far this season, it's two sides typically that have both faced a lot of shots. On average, both Wrexham and Derby are facing over 14 shots per game. So from that angle, I'd probably fancy there to be a few goals in this one. Derby on the road, in fairness, have been picking up points quite well recently. They got that good win away at West Brom, a point away at Ipswich as well. Wrexham, I think, are always good to score at least 2 goals in a game, especially at home. I'm going to say this one finishes level. I think Eustace has to have a bounce back from last time out. Score prediction, going to go for a 2-2 draw between those. After that, we go to the Valley for Charlton up against Blackburn. Oh, another really difficult one to call because Charlton don't tend to give much away to the opposition. They're coming off the back of a really good result and performance last time out away at Sheffield United, but equally Blackburn have given a bit recently. Away from home as well, they've not been an easy side to play against. They've picked up back-to-back clean sheets in their last 2 away matches, away at Watford and Hull. They won both those games, and on the season opener against West Brom, narrowly lost that game 1-0. This feels like a sort of low-scoring game where I could definitely see the first goal winning it for either Charlton or Blackburn. I think whoever scores first in this one, if there is a first goal, they'll make it really difficult for their opponents to get back into it. Blackburn obviously had the game that never was last weekend against Ipswich, but up until the point of the game being called off, Blackburn were the team in the ascendancy of that one. Score prediction here, could be one off a set piece or something like that. But do you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if this maybe finishes goalless. I'm going to go for a 0-0 between those two. Tough to call that one, I think. Next up to Ipswich up against Portsmouth. Potentially could be a decent time to be playing Pompey, as a few injuries have started to pile up there, obviously. Schmid was out over the weekend against Sheff Wednesday. They had Shaughnessy pulling up with an injury in that game as well. Looks like he could be set for a period on the sidelines. Josh Murphy wasn't involved in the squad over the weekend either, I believe, with an issue with his ankle. Overall, it's been a really good start to the season for Pompey, and on the road they've looked really effective so far, but with some key injuries at the moment, I do think this is a game that Ipswich could look to take advantage of. Now, Ipswich last time out on the road away at Blackburn, until that game got called off, were pretty poor from my viewing of that one, and on the road generally, Ipswich just haven't got going this season. But with that being said, they're back at Portman Road for this game, where they have been scoring pretty consistently this season. 8 goals in 3 home matches for Kieran McKenna's side, albeit a lot of those goals came against Sheff United when they put 5 goals past them. But playing against a Pompey side that's not currently at full strength, I think I've got to side with the favourites for this fixture. Score prediction, I'm going to go 2-1 Ipswich for those reasons. After that, to a massive game near the bottom of the table, it's Oxford up against Sheffield United. Now, we have to give Oxford some praise at the moment because they've come out of games with Coventry, Leicester and Bristol City recently with 5 points on the board, and that is certainly not to be sniffed at. I think I wasn't the only person at the start of the season a bit concerned about Oxford and potentially their lack of firepower, but that's not been an issue for them recently. They've scored 7 goals in these last 3 matches. They put 3 past Bristol City on Sunday at Ashton Gate, and that was easily the best I've seen Oxford all season. I thought they were on top for multiple points of that match. Brand Casemaker looked class in midfield. Placheta scored that absolute worldie, and Prellick getting a goal for himself as well. If that's the standard that Oxford consistently play out this season, then I think they'll be absolutely fine in terms of escaping that relegation trapdoor. Now, this is a huge game of importance for Sheff United because they're still looking for not only their first win of the season, but their first points of the season. We did a bit of a deeper dive on Sheff United on Monday's video. If you've not seen that, make sure to go ahead and check it out. But in that video, I basically highlighted the importance of these next 3 games for Sheff United, in particular against Oxford, Southampton and Hull, basically before the cut-off of this next international break. And I think it's absolutely imperative imperative that Sheff United get their first win in one of these 3 matches, because you don't want to be getting to, the back end of October and you're still looking for your first win of the season. With all that being said, I think a lot of the same problems that Sheff United have run into all season were still on show in their recent game against Charlton. Just 11 shots on target they've managed in their first 6 matches. On the showing of both of these sides recently, I think I have to favour Oxford in this one. Score prediction for me, I'm going to go 1-0 Oxford in that game. After that, to Deepdale for Preston up against Bristol City. 2 stereotypical mid-table championship sides, but both in the championship top 6 at the moment. Now, Bristol City are coming off the back of definitely their worst performance of the season so far. Thought they were really under par at home against Oxford. Lost that game 3-1. Emil Rees especially really didn't have his scoring boots on in that game, did he? Although in fairness, Anis Mehmeti still took his goal really well, and they still carried a goal threat despite being quite under par defensively. Going up against a Preston side who have been really firing on all cylinders recently. I think defensively we've looked so much sturdier this season than we did last season, and going forward we've got so much more creativity in our ranks. It's been Alfie Devine, a shining light of our season so far. He took his goal away at Derby in absolutely spectacular fashion, but you throw some other players in there who have been really effective for us recently. Dobbin, Small, Osmaich, who's now back from his injury. I always like to bring this stat up as well, but under Paul Heckingbottom at Deepdale, Preston have only lost 3 of their last 25 home league matches. It is worth bringing up that one of those 3 losses did come against Bristol City last season at Deepdale, although in quite controversial circumstances, and I'm still a little bit salty about Bristol City beating us last time because it was Hirakawa who just swiped the ball away from Freddie Woodman to give Bristol City the lead in that game. With all that being said, I think this one's going to be quite a close one. Draw here would not surprise me. I think it would be typical if Emil Rees shows up and has an absolute masterclass against his former side. I'm banking on him scoring at least 1 goal for Bristol City here, but North End at Deepdale have been no mugs. Score prediction, why not? Let's back North End for a win here. I'm going to go 2-1. Was just a bit undersold by Bristol City last time against Oxford. Next up to Hillsborough for Sheffield Wednesday up against QPR. Brilliant result for Wednesday last time out. Going away to a place as tough as Portsmouth. They're walking away with not just a clean sheet, but all 3 points. Took their goals really well in that game, and suddenly it looks like Wednesday could be a little bit more proactive than a lot of people gave them credit for. With that being said, they have still struggled to get things going at Hillsborough in the league especially, and I fancy a side like QPR with how many players they've got, quality players in the final third, to have the tools to open up this Wednesday backline. You feel like it will be QPR, probably with more of the ball, more of the chances. Since they got hammered away at Coventry, I think there's been a consistency and cohesion in their play. I just think they've got too much quality in the final third for Wednesday in this one, who, like I say, are yet to really get going at home. Score prediction for me, I'm going to go 3-1 QPR in that game. Next up then, to Southampton up against Middlesbrough. It's the Finazaz derby. Southampton aside, many had tipped to be up in the automatic promotion spots at the start of the season. Yet to get going, just 1 win from their first 6 matches, going up against the Middlesbrough side, who are absolutely flying in the Championship right now. Now, I don't think that Boro's last 2 performances have been vintage by any means against North End and against West Brom at home last time, but they've been so effective in the final third in both of those matches. They're also not giving up a great deal of chances to the opposition at the moment either, and playing against the Southampton side who are yet to find their stride for this season. They're trying to integrate quite a few new players into their 11. It still isn't totally clear what sort of style Will Still's trying to get across as well. Like against Hull, they dominated the ball but didn't do a great deal with it. Against Pompey, first half of that game, they really struggled to put their stamp on it. Second half, they had a bit more of the ball, but once again, struggled to really craft out much with it. Middlesbrough at the moment, under Rob Edwards, I think, like I say, have just been so effective. Listen, they won't keep winning matches. There will be a point of the season where they run into some difficulties, start dropping points a little bit more regularly, but is that going to happen here? I'm not sure. Draw here seems like it could be a sensible shout, but I've been so sold on Middlesbrough recently, and Southampton feel like such a working project. I'm going to back an away win there. I'm going to go 2-1 Middlesbrough. Next then to Stoke up against Norwich. After Stoke's recent loss against QPR, Mark Robins came out and was really quite critical of his side's performance and how maybe they took their foot off the gas a little bit for that one. Maybe had started to believe their own hype after such a good start to the season. But I think Robins is a good manager at getting a reaction from his squad, and he certainly won't allow any complacency to seep into that Stoke squad. At home this season, they've tended to be really good value for money. Norwich, just been a tough one to put your finger on, really. I think they have had really good moments going forward, but as was the case last season, defensively they've looked a bit all over the place, especially in that last game against Wrexham, where I could not believe how much space they actually afforded that side. Do that again against Stoke in this one, and Stoke could absolutely rip you apart with those options they've got out wide. I think there has to be some sort of reaction here from both sides, really. Obviously, after disappointing losses last time out, I just think I've got a bit more faith in Stoke at the moment out of these two. Score prediction, I'm going to go 2-1 Stoke to take that one. And then to round off the weekend with Watford up against Hull. Not been a great start to the season for Watford and Paolo Pezzolano. Currently 21st in the table, only above the bottom three on goal difference. If things don't improve quite drastically between now and this next international break, I feel like Paolo Pezzolano may be on borrowed time there. Now, I didn't think that Watford were awful against Millwall, to be fair. They certainly had chances to get back into that game, but it was one moment of quality from Millwall that swung that game in their favour. Back at home for this one, they're just a tough one to put your finger on, Watford, because I do look at that squad on paper. I think they've got some very talented individuals, especially in the final third, and if things do click at any point in this season for Watford, I feel like they could be quite a fun side to watch, but until that happens, they just feel like a bit of an unreliable side that you don't quite know what you're going to get from them week to week. Yes, Iran Kunda or Loser or someone could score an absolute worldie out of nowhere, but the team cohesion isn't quite there yet. And with Hull, I mean, they've been a little bit up and down. They've won 2, drawn 2, lost 2 in their first 6, but what you can say about them is they bring a goal threat into every game they go into. They've scored 7 goals in their last 3 matches. McBurney's been in absolutely terrific form recently. He scored again over the weekend against Southampton. Away from home, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. They've got 2 draws, 1 loss in 3 away matches so far. I wouldn't be surprised if this one ends level, but no, let's back the form. Let's go for Hull. 2-1 Hull on the road in that game, I'll say. Well, guys, there you have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure to get your score predictions in the comments down below. How are you feeling going into this weekend's games? But apart from that, thank you very much for watching as always, and I'll catch you all in the next one.